Hello, my name is Alexandru and I am a Romanian-born seeker of truth, a lifetime student in the Gurdjieff groups all around the world. And I have authored quite a few books on the Gurdjieff teaching, including books describing in detail the practical internal exercises and the famous movements and sacred dances. This channel is about the Enneagram brought by Gurdjieff, to whom we will always be grateful for bringing such a tremendous teaching and sharing it with us. Among my books about the Enneagram, you can see here the cover of Process Coaching with the Enneagram and the cover of the Business Enneagram. I also highly recommend the books written by my friend Adrian, Mirel, Petrariu, especially his grand opus, The Mythology of the Energy. Among his books on the Enneagram, you can see here the cover of the Gurdjieff Enneagram Origins and the fabulous The Enneagram of Thought. Today we'll speak about the centers and the energy. How is the energy moving in respect to the centers? So the first thing is that we have the three centers, as in any basic Gurdjieff approach to life. We have the physical center, the body mainly, the emotional center, and the intellectual center. So when we speak about how the energy moves in respect to these centers, we will have two possibilities. As Gurdjieff once said, every stick has two ends. So we'll have these two possibilities. Either the energy is falling to the inside of the centers, this we will call attention, or the energy is falling to the outside of the centers, and this we'll call emotion. Emotion, by the way, means ex movere from Latin, that means moving to the outside. So we'll have these two possibilities, attention and emotion. And of course, when we speak about the first case, the attention, we are collecting ourselves. So we are connecting more and more to the inside of us. When we speak the second case, about the emotion, we are losing ourselves. The energy falls to the outside more and more. Of course, in each of these cases, we will have degrees, because everything in this world is based on degrees. So, in the case of attention, there will be degrees of attention, or better said, degrees of collecting oneself inside. When we speak about the emotions, there will be degree of emotions that is not in intensity, but degrees of how we dissipate our energy to the outside. So let's take these cases, each separately, and see more details about them. We'll take first the emotion case. In this case, the energy is going to the outside, and the ultimate dissipation of energy is when we die. When we die, the center completely disconnects and energy goes to the source, each energy accordingly. So this will be death as the final dissipation of energy. Another type of degree is when we are sleeping. When we are sleeping, the centers are not connected as they are connected when we are awake. So there are different degrees of sleep, and we will speak about this in a minute. And another degree is when we are with the heads in the clouds. So this means that I'm engaged in an activity, but my mind is someplace else. So this means that not all my centers, in this case with the head in the clouds example, the intellectual one, not all my centers are connected with the same quality. So this is the emotion example. The other situation with the attention also has different degrees, and we will speak now a little bit about this in general, and after that we will see particular degrees that we are interested into. So when you sleep at night and then comes the day and you awake, you are awake but not fully awake, let's say. So that means that not all the centers are connected with the same quality. When we are fully awake, what Gurdjieff and Uspensky, of course, are mentioning by waking state, that is one type of being awake. When you have awareness and consciousness, that is another degree of being awake. That means the attention, the degree of how much you are collected inside and how much you are attentive to you and to the outside world is different. The ultimate degree of being collected and having attention is, of course, the birth of the soul. So when we speak about different centers and when we speak about degrees on this vertical axis, both in the case of the attention and of the emotion, the degrees have to do with what center and how many centers are connected or disconnected. That means when you get awake and when you get more collected, like in the case of the attention example, the degree is based on when the physical center gets connected. That means you have one center collected and attention in one center only. The next degree would be to have two centers. One case would be to add the emotional or the intellectual, of course. And the third case, the third level degree, would be to add the third center. So to have all the three centers connected and with the attention falling inside. So this would be the ultimate example. It's the same in case with emotion. Disconnecting one center, that means in one center the energy is being dissipated away. Disconnected by two centers and disconnected by three centers. So we will take each example and see the particular Enneagram specific to it. So in the example of the attention, when we became more and more collected inside, we have this Enneagram, and each shock, each apex of the triangle, means one connection. So we will begin at point 0 above when we are connecting the physical. So one example would be that I have been asleep at night and then come morning I will become awake. This becoming awake is a state in which I am sluggish. That means not all my centers are perfectly connected. I move slowly, my mind is not very alert, and so on and so forth. So this would be the first example, and I put it with plus, that means plus energy. So taking as basis the sleeping mode, when I connect the physical center, becoming awake, I have added something. So that's why it's with plus energy. The other example here, the torpid one, is when I am already awake and because of fatigue, the energy is going outside of me and I'm just vegetating, just waiting, everything is slowly. So I have put this with minus energy because it's a lack of energy. So both these two ends of stick are when we connect the physical. So when we connect the physical, this means that this projects into itself and its opposite according to the lens principle. So we will have these two ends of the same stick, sluggish and torpid. The next two examples is when we connect the emotional center. So one example will be daydreaming, and I have put this with minus energy because we are already awake and we are in some activities, and then some of the energy starts to go out, and this means that we are starting to daydream, we start to imagine things. So this is a certain functioning of the emotional center where we make up images inside our mind and we start feeling things, having emotions about them. So this is one type of connecting the emotional by starting to daydream, but this will get as a result expenditure of energy. The other way of connecting the emotional is when we have an emergency, when we have a necessity, when we feel that we are in danger. So this type of situation I have put with plus because there's an energy because of a stimulus from outside mainly that gets us more collected, more attentive to what is happening to us and to the outside. The last two examples are when we connect the intellectual center. So we have two ways of connecting the intellectual. One is randomly. That means the center gets activated randomly when we remember something. This could be as a result from an outside stimulus or an inside stimulus, but it will still be random. So I remember something, to do something, to think about something. I remember myself, but randomly. The other way of connecting the intellectual is by wish, by willing, by having our will evolved and connecting the intellectual and the logic by will. This means I wish to think, I wish to remember myself, and all these degrees of willing fully adding the intellectual center. So these are the last two examples of connecting the intellectual. And when we have all the three centers connected, this also has different degrees. We will speak about this in a future video perhaps. But what is important is to have this state in the daily life when we are with all the three centers at the same time. This is one reason for which Gurdjieff, when he wrote Belzebub, almost on every page there is written three centered beings. So it's very important to have all the three centers in the same moment in the experience of life. We'll now speak about the other example when the energy is dissipated, when it falls to the outside, the emotion example. So one thing to be particularly keen on is that each time when one feels emotion, the emotion should be converted to attention, converted back to attention, to internal attention. So this is one way of working with negative and positive emotions in order to become balanced and then be able to have feelings like love, faith and hope. So back to our example. This time the Enneagram goes to the other way. So this is an octave that is descending. The other one was an octave that was ascending. So Gurdjieff gave only two examples of Enneagram. The ascending octave was the food Enneagram and descending octave was the ray of creation. So this goes to the other way. So first we disconnect the physical. So we are awake, we are doing the day, but then we want to go to sleep. So when we go to sleep, the first thing that will get disconnected would be the physical. That means some of the connections with the emotional center and with the intellectual center will still be there, and we have two possibilities because this disconnection will project into itself and its opposite, the two ends of the same stick. So one example would be somnambulist. That means you have fallen asleep, but you can still move your body around. So this is almost a disease. So I put this with plus energy because you are still consuming energy, there is still some movement. So the disconnection of the physical center is not complete. The other one is when you are dozing. So you are not fully asleep, but you are not moving or not that much. Your mind is slowly falling away, the emotions the same, so you are just dozing. It's very hot outside, you are very fatigued. So this is the other end of the stick. So we have dozing with lack of energy and somnambulist with extra energy. At the next step, we are disconnecting the emotional center. We'll have two ends of the same stick. The first one is when we are sound asleep. So in the first example, when only the physical gets disconnected, if we go to sleep, we'll have dreams. more vivid, less vivid, but still dreams. When we are sound asleep, that means the emotional center has disconnected, so we will no longer have dreams. The other side of this stick, the other end, would be states in which we have some substance inside of us, like alcohol. So the state of inebriation, when we are slowly getting asleep, but not because of lack of energy or anything natural. So it's because the use of a certain substance. And next we have the disconnecting the intellectual center. And this can be done in two ways, itself and its opposite, of course. And the natural way is when we are deep asleep. So it's like in fairy tales, the hero goes to sleep, and when he wakes up, he says, "Oh my God, I thought I was dead, and now I am awake." So it's that kind of a sleep. When you get up, you don't know what day it is, what hour it is, what is your name. So you have been very deep asleep. So this is one end of the stick. And the other, of course, when there are some external circumstances, either substances or trauma, when we get to a coma. So even if it's a medical coma, or it's just somebody punched us and we got knocked out, that's still a certain degree of coma based on an external stimulus, let's say. So these are the degrees of disconnecting the centers. So this was today's video. I hope you find it interesting. I hope you will have feedback, and based on your verifications in the daily life, see when the energy is going out or when the energy is going in. And for more details about the books that we have published, and also about online programs dealing with theory, practical internal exercises, and Gurdjieff movements explained step by step, you can visit Gurdjieff Online. Or if you are interested only in the movements and sacred dances, you can visit the Gurdjieff Movements, and there you can find different series of complexity explained step by step. All my best.